Hey everybody! Welcome back to the Foundations of Movement series. Today we're going to talk about Principle 4, which is the glutes. Glute activation and glute isolation. So far we've covered rib expansion breathing, we've covered the VPAC, we've covered scap setting, and today we're going to start talking about the lower quarter with the glutes. So the glutes are incredibly important muscles for both movement and stabilization. In movement, they're very powerful propulsion muscles. So they do hip extension, so they can propel you forward or upward during your movements. They can also be stabilizing muscles in stabilizing the entire lower quarter from your waist down in leg movements that you do to keep your knees and your ankles tracking in the proper positions. Learning how to control the glute movement and activate the glute muscles independently is really important to prevent and help to treat pain. So I see a lot of people that have back pain, knee pain, ankle pain, things like that, and they blame their back or they blame their knee or their ankle, when actually the culprit is the hips and more specifically the glutes. So if the glutes aren't firing properly and independently, so we have one butt, but we have two separate butt muscles, and a lot of people can't use them independently. So if you're not able to do that, what happens is your other muscles will start to compensate and take over for the fact that the glutes aren't activating correctly. So your quads and your hamstrings will take over, and your back muscles can take over. And that causes a lot of injury and chronic pain, especially when you're doing activities. So my aim today is to teach you how to activate and use your glutes in functional patterns to keep the pain away and make you move in a most efficient and powerful manner. So as I was saying before, the glutes are incredibly important in hip extension. They're the primary hip extensor muscles. So the action of hip extension is this, with your hip going behind your midline. Hip extension is also what happens when you're in a flexed position and you straighten up. So extension can come from here to here, or from here to here. Both those types of extension are the job of the glutes. Now your hamstring muscle also does hip extension, but its primary function is to do knee flexion, which is this motion. So what happens when our glutes aren't firing properly is whenever we go into hip extension, the hamstring takes over and does the motion for the glutes. Or the glute may come in, but the hamstring comes in first. Now what that does is it overloads the hamstring, and it can make the hamstrings really tight, which can pull your pelvis into a posterior tilt, which can give you back pain. It can pull on your knee in the back, giving you knee pain. And it just causes a lot of problems along the chain if the hamstring is using its secondary function, hip extension, as a primary function because the glute is not working properly. The other thing is that in sports such as cycling, where leg motion occurs simultaneously, knee extension, which is done by the quads, and hip extension, which is done by the glutes and the hamstring, are happening in a pedal stroke on a bicycle. So a lot of cyclists have knee problems and really huge quads, but they don't know how to use their glutes. So as they're pedaling, they're relying more on the quad to do knee extension and not so much on the glutes to do hip extension. So when you're up here, your knee's extending, but also your hip is extending. So this can really improve your pedal stroke with power, efficiency, and the ability to prevent knee pain on the bike. If you're doing sports or activities where your foot is connected to the ground, the glute is going to help stabilize the movement of that leg. So when you're running, walking, or hiking, every time you take a step and you put your foot down and your knee bends, there's a lot of movement that goes on there. So for me, with the alignment that I have in my legs, and a lot of other people have this issue as well, when they take a step, their knee tracks inward. And it may be major and it may be minor, but think how many steps we take in a day. So if our knee is tracking inward, we're getting a lot of pressure on the inside aspect of our knee, the medial aspect. We're also getting a lot of strain on the outer or lateral aspect of our knee. That can also affect our foot down the chain, and it can affect our lower back, as when our knee drops in, our pelvis is tilting and twisting. So if I can use my glute to stabilize that movement, I can keep my knee tracking straight over my shin and my ankle when I do a single leg squat. And basically a single leg squat is the movement that we do all day long when we're walking or when we're running. So the glute is an incredibly important functional mover and an incredibly important functional stabilizer. So first we're going to work on activating the glute muscles together. So most people are able to do this. You can just squeeze your buttocks together. A lot of people compensate for that by squeezing their leg muscles, okay? So when you work on this, I want you to try to keep your leg muscles as relaxed as possible. Now obviously your leg muscles are helping to hold you upright, so they are doing a little bit of work, but this activation should come from the glute muscles themselves. So again, like we have before, we're going to use our fingertips because the neural connections between our brain and our fingertips are really sharp, so we can feel with our fingers that our glute muscles are contracting. So you're going to put your hands on your glute muscles and you're going to just squeeze your butt. And I want you to pretend that you have a walnut in your butt crack and you are trying to crack that walnut as hard as you can. So I'll show you from the back. Hands on your glute muscles, tighten them up, crack that walnut, and relax. Tighten and relax. So that one's pretty easy. And this is something that you can use when you're bending to stabilize your movement. So if you're going to go into a squat, you tighten your glute muscles, and then you come down into your squat. And see how that's keeping my knees directly over my shins instead of letting them drop in like my natural alignment would make them do. Okay? So tightening the glutes as you're coming down into the squat to stabilize, and then keeping them tight as you come up out of the squat, because coming out of a squat is hip extension. So again, you're using those primary hip extensor muscles instead of overusing your quads and your hamstrings. So the harder part is isolating your glute muscles. So like I said before, we always refer to our butt, but we actually have two glute muscles. We have lots of glute muscles, but we have the right side and the left side. So it's important to be able to contract these individually as well. And this is going to help you in activities when you're on one leg, to be able to contract and stabilize that glute while you're doing the activity. So you're going to put your hands on your butt muscles, and keeping your legs relaxed, you're going to tighten just your right glute muscle. And then relax. And then you're going to tighten just your left glute muscle. And relax. Hold. And relax. Hold. And relax. You can practice doing it fast and slow. You should be able to engage those glute muscles anytime you want, for as long as you want when you're doing any activity. Okay, so a lot of people can't do this right away, because our entire lives, we've never been taught how to engage one glute at a time. We always just do both, or we do neither and we let our quads and hamstrings do the work. So I'm going to show you now a trick to help you engage your glute muscles one at a time. Okay, so you're going to lay down on your stomach, relax your head, and put your hands on your glute muscles. Okay? Then what you're going to do is bend your knee, which gives the hamstring a job to do. It kind of takes the hamstring out of the equation. Then you're going to tighten that glute, so my left glute. Okay? And if you can't feel it tightening, I just want you to think about it tightening. So put your brain inside your glute muscle and imagine that muscle tightening. Then I want you to gently lift your leg in the upward direction. And it doesn't have to clear the floor, it just has to have the intention of slightly going upward. And that should make that glute muscle engage. So once that engages, feel that with your hand. Pay attention to how it feels when that glute muscle is tight and the other glute muscle is relaxed. Pay attention to how it feels in your brain and in the muscle itself. Then go ahead and relax it. Try it again. Squeeze the glute muscle. Slightly bring it upward. Hold for a few seconds so that you can really feel that contraction in the glute. Bring it down and relax. So after you've done that a few times, you can relax your legs, keep your hands on your glutes, and just contract that glute muscle on its own. And it might not work right away, but after some time, you will be able to do this because you will have developed a muscle memory of what it feels like to tighten that glute muscle. And again, the rest of the muscles in your legs might move a little bit, but you want them to be basically relaxed. And you want all the movement to come from that glute muscle. Okay, so once you've mastered the exercise on your stomach, you're going to try it standing. So place your hands on your glutes, relax your legs, and engage your left glute muscle, and feel that your left glute muscle is tight and your right glute muscle is relaxed. Then relax and do the other side. Engage the right glute muscle, feel that that muscle's tight while your left glute is relaxed. And relax. So the next step is to use this in functional movement. So for example, the single leg mini squat. You're going to stand on one leg, tighten your V-pack, engage the glute of the leg that you're standing on, and do a mini squat, watching to make sure that your knee is tracking straight over your ankle and not tracking in or way out. When you're pedaling your bicycle, think about pushing down by engaging your glute as you do a pedal stroke. When you're walking or running, think about engaging your glute every time you take a step. You should engage the glute on that leg, especially as you push off, because that's where you're going to get the power from hip extension. When you're walking downstairs, you can practice taking a step down and squeezing your glute to stabilize your body as it lowers you down the stair. Okay, so that's an overview on the function of the glutes and why it's important to be able to activate them and also isolate them. So in your sport or activity, think about how you can use your glutes to produce more power, move more efficiently, and prevent injuries. If you're training lifting weights, think about engaging your glutes every time you move. If you have knee pain or back pain, really think about how your glute muscles might actually be affecting that more than your knee or your back. And again, these motor control techniques take time and consistency to learn. So it's okay if you don't get it right away. Most people don't. Again, consistent practice is key. So try to do this every day. Spend some time doing it while you're standing, some time doing it while you're laying on your stomach, and then incorporating it into all your daily activities and your current sports or exercises that you're doing. Over time, it will become easy and normal to be able to activate your glutes or isolate one glute at a time for your activities. All right, that was Principle 4, glute activations. Thanks for watching Foundations of Movement, and we'll see you again soon.